Welcome back, everybody. I hope that went a little bit more smoothly than the last transition. I'd now like to welcome Maya Barnett to the stage. Maya is the Project Director of Tilt Renewables' Liverpool Range Wind Farm. Having worked in the renewable energy sector since 2002, she has experience in the end-to-end development of renewable projects from the initial site investigations, new technologies and acquisition opportunities, through to asset management and operations. In her current role, she leads the development of the large-scale Liverpool Range Wind Farm project, which involves the coordination of a multifaceted team to deliver the strategic objectives for business and advance the project through to financial close. I'd now like to welcome Maya Barnett to the platform to present the Liverpool Range Wind Farm project on behalf of Tilt Renewables. Welcome, Maya.
Okay, well, thanks everyone, and thank you for the introduction, and apologies for a little bit of technical issues there. Before I start this presentation, I'd firstly like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land that I'm presenting today, which is the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and acknowledge the traditional owners of where you're watching today. And I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. So today I'm here to talk to you about the Liverpool Range Wind Farm project, before I kick that off, and I know we're a little bit behind on time, so I'll make this fairly brief, but just a quick update on Tilt Renewables. So if you haven't heard of us, we're a leading renewable energy developer. We have over 1.3 gigawatts of installed generation across the network, and we were recently purchased last year in August 2021 by the Powering Renewables Australia Fund, which is made up of 40% share of QIC, 40% of Future Fund and 20% AGL. We have a number of operational projects throughout the NEM, so from South Australia all the way up towards Queensland, and we've got a very large development portfolio as well. So we've got very ambitious targets for renewables up to 2030. So yeah, you'll probably hear a lot more from us in the future. Before I kick off and talk about the project, I just wanted to touch firstly on just some of the things that we're seeing in the renewables market. And these are probably not just trends from renewables only, but I think it is worth sort of touching on some of the things that have happened since COVID, since the war in Ukraine. So firstly, we are seeing a lot of inflation on the costs of materials and labour. We are seeing significant supply chain disruptions, and in terms of things like transformers and turbines and even culverts that go under the road, we're starting to see longer lead times. We've seen an increase in global manufacturing costs and insurance costs and maintenance costs as well. But on the flip side, we're seeing zero carbon goals proliferating across a number of countries. We have very strong state and federal support for renewables. We are seeing a lot of the planned and unplanned retirements of coal being moved forward, such as Eraring and Yallourn. And we're seeing, some shortages in skilled labour, and it's been very difficult to resource up our projects across Australia. But to jump into Liverpool itself, so Liverpool Range, it's a large project. It's nearby the townships of Coolah and Cassilis, and it's about 230 kilometres northwest of Newcastle, located in the central West Arana res. It's a large site. We have about 51,000 hectares of site area. It's about 35 kilometres from the top turbine to the southernmost turbine. And it was a project that was originally developed by Epiron, and we purchased the project in 2019. And it's originally an approved project. So it was approved back in 2018 for 267 turbines with a tip height of 165 metres. What we're doing now is we're currently modifying the project. So we've lodged a submission with DPE. That's basically to accommodate sort of the larger, more efficient turbine technology, and the changes around changing a layout like that. So what we're starting to look at now is around 220 turbines. So we've decreased the number of turbines by 47. An increase in blade tip height, as I mentioned, to accommodate the larger turbines currently available in the market. A number of O&M facilities across the site, because it is a very large site. We have redesigned the project electrically as well to make sure that it meets the current grid requirements, and that's resulted in a number of substations for what we tend to call is sort of each of the clusters around the project. We do have significant road upgrades, around 110 kilometres of public road upgrades, and so there's a number of, it'll be widening, pavement, culverts, bridge upgrades potentially, so there's a fair bit of work in that. And then we have a large amount of internal tracks, underground cabling, site access points, and a haulage route that we've investigated from the Port of Newcastle. I mentioned briefly that we are in the Central West Orana Res, and so for those who don't know, the New South Wales government have been developing these renewable energy zones to really sort of help facilitate large amounts of renewables connecting into the grid, and predominantly that involves building new transmission line infrastructure for these projects. So where EnergyCo are at is that they're currently preparing their EIS and they're undertaking field work to support that. Tilt Renewables, as part of the Liverpool project, will participate in an access tender for the RES, likely to be mid next year. And a lot of the timing around this wind farm is very closely related to the RES. Just to touch on a few of the project challenges, I sort of briefly mentioned the market trends that we're currently seeing, but some of the challenges that we're seeing more specifically to our project is around sort of the demand for turbines and global supply. As I mentioned before, lead times for those materials and equipment. Because we are located in a RES, and just the area that we are located in, we're seeing multiple projects, not just renewables, but other major infrastructure projects being delivered simultaneously in the region. We've seen skilled labour shortages with not just our project, but just in generally competing industries. We're seeing risk being carried into pricing and into contracts, both state, council, just in being able to get those approvals based on the number of projects that they're having to deal with, and also their resourcing constraints as well. So what that's led to is we've sort of changed our strategy of how we are developing this project. So one of those changes is developing a split contracting model. We've had some success with that with our Rye Park Wind Farm in New South Wales. And so rather than doing the traditional EPC approach, we are splitting those contracts into a turbine supply and install, the balance of plant, which includes the electrical and civil design, and we are looking at potentially splitting further into public road upgrades as well. We have to deal with some of the issues around sort of the demand for turbines. We have actually engaged quite early with suppliers to select a preferred turbine, and we have a tender ongoing at the moment for the preferred turbine, and we'll likely have a decision pre-Christmas on our preferred turbine for the project. We've also been undertaking a lot of design work early, a lot of that design work that would typically fall once you've engaged your EPC contract we're doing quite early. So we've engaged a number of consultants to do the civil and electrical design, not just for the wind farm, but also for the public road upgrades as well. And we've been engaging early also with key manufacturers as well, just to understand sort of what some of those key lead times are, so that we can look to mitigate the project's any delays due to not being able to get appropriate manufacturing slots. On the design phase, I also mentioned that we've been doing a lot of that design early, and so the idea behind that is to have a suitable amount of design. We're targeting a 30% design before we go to tender for the balance of plant contract. So as part of that, we've engaged some geotechnical consultants who are doing a lot of work on the ground as we speak, despite the weather, so they're probably not getting that too far at the moment. We've also got a consultant engaged who's developing the electrical and civil BOP design, and another one engaged that's currently out there at the moment assessing all the roads and culverts and bridges. And so that's ultimately so we can prepare quite a decent informed package of information that we can take to tender next year. So this is our high-level program for the project. So what I said is we've submitted the modification now, and we're looking to get approval for that mid next year. In the interim, we've been running our supply and install tender for the turbine, so we're hoping to get that locked in by the end of this year. And then we've got that detailed design process ongoing. We are looking to get a tender away next year. I've got in this program mid next year, but we are looking at ways to bring that forward as well to sort of potentially April. And our ultimate financial investment decision is looking for mid-2024, and this aligns with what Energy Co are targeting for their project as well. And it's quite important to just sort of reiterate that while we're doing all of this design work up front, we are sort of aligning our financial investment date with the Energy Co res. So this is a bit of a breakdown of the project scopes and all the contracts that we will be looking to engage with. It probably is still worth mentioning that, yes, while we are the proponent, we will still have head contractors for this project, and they will do a majority of the engagement for subcontract work. However, we will liaise with them and make sure that there's appropriate things in our contracts so that we do have some oversight there. But the key scope items really are the pre-fit items, which is what I've already just spoken about, a lot of that design work, geotech surveys. We're also doing some work around quarry and water investigations as well. The supply and install contract for the turbines is currently underway, and as I mentioned, we'll be looking to have that secured by the end of this year. We'll also then be going to tender for the balance of plant electrical and civil. So that will be taking ultimately our 30% design and taking it to an as-built design. It will involve the design and delivery of the substations and transmission, as well as the construction of access tracks and ancillary infrastructure, as well as all the management plans involved in getting the project to financial close. We're also doing work on the public road upgrades, so road designs, as-built design. So again, taking that 30% design, taking it to an as-built design, helping us with all the regulatory approvals with council, and then the scope itself will be around the supply and install of culverts, bridges, etc., road upgrades, including the pavement widening and design, and then again also any associated management plans with that work. And then finally the last contract is the O&M contract itself. So that will lie predominantly with the turbine supplier, and that will be responsible for the scheduled and unscheduled maintenance of the turbines and the provision of all parts and labour. So we do have some local content objectives for the project, and basically what we will be looking to do is making sure that we provide significant opportunities for local businesses, whether that's around goods and services or bidding for subcontract work. We will look to communicate those opportunities to local businesses through some relevant industry bodies, and we'll talk about that in a sec, some of the ideas that we're looking at. But we are very keen to grow the local workforce, and whether that's via recruiting or training of additional workers, and engage with the workforce locally and making sure that we have the appropriate skills to deliver the project. We're also keen to understand sort of the locations to engage on this, and we'll look at a variety of channels that we've used in the past for this. We do have a goods and services register available to contractors, and we will be working with a lot of the regional development agencies, information centres, local councils, LAUCs, and of course ICN as well. Some of the things that we've done in the past is we've held some industry engagement events. So these are sort of like the meet the contractor events that we've held, and we've had good results from that. These tend to happen once we've already engaged sort of the head contractors for those projects. And what we like to do is get everyone in the room, basically being able to give an overview of the project, what each of the scopes of work looks like, and what each of those contractors are looking for, and an opportunity for everyone to network and discuss the project and what's required. We'd love to hear from you where you think we should be holding these events. It's always great to get feedback on this, and we're always looking for other ideas as well in ways to engage. So please reach out after this presentation and let us know. In previous projects, we've also had a lot of success working with ICN, and so in our latest project, Rye Park, we've had a ICN portal that we've managed and then provided that information to our head contractors. It's been a good opportunity for prospective suppliers to submit EOIs through that network or through that portal, and it allows us to sort of I suppose, provide that information to each of our contractors. We also consult regularly with local government at a ground level and make sure that we have access to those prospective suppliers that might not be coming through the ICN portal. We are committed to having direct contact with suppliers. So again, we do recommend that you reach out to us. We will be developing also an Aboriginal participation plan in consultation with the Aboriginal community organisations and businesses, as well as government agencies as well. Ultimately, I attended the All Energy Conference yesterday, and one of the First Nations engagement sessions, and it really spoke to around what some of the key objectives are here. And so look, I've put some up there around sort of obviously some positive outcomes and meaningful engagement, but what we're really interested in is achieving some of the long-term goals, particularly around making sure there's opportunities for employment, procurement of goods and services, and seeing what opportunities there may be for joint partnerships as well, joint ventures and partnerships. And I saw Deb's presentation earlier, and one thing that struck a chord with me was definitely to engage early on this, because she did mention some of the procurement barriers that we can face. So I think it'll be really good to reach out and get that going. Again, if you have any information or ideas or opportunities for First Nations business engagement, and I'll certainly be reaching out to Deb after this, but please do get in touch with us. That's pretty much it. I've kind of whizzed through it. I know we're a little bit behind time, but we do have a number of channels that you can contact us on. Please do reach out. We have the Goods and Services Register on our Liverpool Range website listed above. You can email us directly through the Liverpool Range Wind Farm email address, or we have a 1-800 number as well. And like I said, we'll be definitely keen to hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Maya. That was really informative. And look, I'm a sucker for industry. I've always appreciated the beauty of it, and nothing looks more majestic than a group of turbines in the landscape. So it's really, really exciting. So in order to keep up to date with the project, you're encouraging people to reach out to you. And I think you made a very important point too for supply chain members that are in the delegation today, that making contact with the New South Wales Indigenous Chamber of Commerce is a really good way to take those joint venture opportunities and meet your expectations of Indigenous engagement as you move to construction phase as well.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, you know, we've sort of flipped on its head our procurement strategy for this project, and we're doing a lot of things earlier, which means that we have that opportunity to, if there are barriers or things that we're struggling with, we have a bit more time to resolve those.
Excellent. If you'd like to engage with Maya and find out more about the Liverpool Range Wind Farm project, please head to the Tilt Renewables booth and you can talk to Maya directly there. And of course, you'll have her contact details on the presentation as it's shared after conference close today. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you.